everybody. Okay, welcome back. Today we are going to dive into the topic of fasting. Now, fasting, there's lots of different angles at which we could come at this and talk about it. It's a very popular wellness trend, and people are using it for things like weight loss and gut health and metabolic health, all the way to what I really want to dive into today, which is that fasting is often touted as this primary way to cleanse the body. And particularly, we hear the terms like autophagy, which I'm going to talk about in more detail, and even that fasting is great for reducing cancer risk. So I really want to dive into this specific area of cleansing the body and fasting today, because I want to talk about if fasting is really delivering on these promises. And honestly, spoiler alert, I don't believe so. And today I'm going to dive into the science behind fasting, its effects on cellular repair, and also the significant misconceptions, risks, and overlooked natural alternatives to consider when we're talking about cleansing the body, autophagy, and reducing cancer risk. So we're going to break down some science today. We're going to debunk some myths. And then we're also going to explore some safer, more effective ways, honestly, to support your body's natural cleansing and cellular repair processes. So first things first, we are going to dive into what is autophagy, this funny word if you've never heard of it. And really, autophagy is your body's way of clearing out damaged cells and regenerating new ones. It's amazing. It's kind of like our body's own recycling system. And fasting is often promoted as the primary way to trigger this process. And with that, it claims to reduce cancer risk and improve overall health. But I really want to break this down and help you kind of determine if fasting is really the answer here for autophagy and cleansing the body. So to start off, we're going to dive into the cancer prevention debate, and the fact that this theory that fasting equals cancer prevention or can reduce the risk of cancer. So one of the most talked about, most cited benefits of fasting is this cancer prevention. And what research is showing, and some research is showing, is that fasting can reduce levels of IGF-1. This is insulin-like growth factor 1. This is a hormone that's linked to cell growth and even in some cases cancer development. So the idea here is that by lowering IGF-1 levels, we might limit the survival of damaged or precancerous cells. So there are studies. There is a study like the one, and it was published in Cancer Discovery. And everything that I referenced today, guys, is going to be in the show notes if you want to dive deeper into some of this research. But there's a research study that was published in Cancer Discovery, and it suggests that fasting or calorie restriction could enhance the effects of chemotherapy and radiation therapy by making cancer cells more vulnerable. Okay, so there's the Cancer Discovery, and then there was another research done. It's Springer Link, and both of those studies can be found in the show notes. And essentially, IGF-1, this insulin-like growth factor 1, it is this hormone that's critical for growth and repair. So it's super necessary for normal functions, but these high levels of IGF-1, they have been linked to some cancer risk because it promotes cell growth. And it can also prevent damaged cells from dying off. So we can start to see how there's an issue there with high levels of IGF-1. So essentially, in simpler terms, IGF-1 can help bad cells survive and even multiply, which is where this cancer connection comes in. So during fasting, your body actually enters into a nutrient scarce state, and it can reduce those levels of IGF-1. And essentially, it reduces the production to conserve resources, right? So when we're not giving it those nutrients, our body those nutrients that it needs, we go into this conservation mode and we want to conserve as much energy as possible for survival. So this can really limit the survival of these damaged cells and promote autophagy. So this is why fasting is sometimes considered a tool for cancer prevention. Now here's where this gets tricky. Okay, another study, so there's another study done from MIT, and this was found, and it was found in this study that activating a cancer-related gene during the refeeding stage, so after fasting, leads to a higher likelihood of precancerous polyps. So this means that the timing and the context of fasting are actually extremely crucial, and in certain situations, fasting might actually do more harm than good. It is really important to keep in mind all of these studies, the 3 that I mentioned, and majority of the rest of the studies on fasting, cancer prevention, and autophagy, they're done on animals or in highly specific cancer contexts, which makes it extremely hard to apply these findings universally to humans. Even though those in the wellness industry will take this kind of body of research, and in order to make waves, they will, and honestly, like gain attention and gain traction, they will go, hey, fasting prevents cancer, and there's your headline, and people run with it instead of actually breaking down and understanding that the majority of this research done on animals or done on very specific, highly specific cancer context. So not everyone is going to respond to fasting in the same way, and this research and the body of research that we have right now definitely does not prove that it's a one-size-fits-all solution. Now, on the other hand as well, there are complications to fasting in the world of cortisol and insulin and essentially stress on the body. So fasting isn't always this straightforward thing for autophagy, cancer prevention, and even things like reducing inflammation, weight loss, etc., especially for people with poor metabolic health. This is really important. When your blood sugar drops during fasting, because it will, you're not feeding your body, your blood sugar is going to drop. Your body's going to release cortisol in order to prevent you from dying. A blood sugar that drops too low equals death. So your body releases cortisol, which is your stress hormone, or one of them. And cortisol's job is to bring that blood sugar back up. And it really does this by breaking down muscle protein for glucose, for energy, for sugar. And this is a process called glucogenesis. This sudden spike in blood sugar then triggers insulin release, which counteracts the benefits of fasting. So instead of repair, your body starts getting stuck in a stress cycle, which destabilizes your blood sugar, and it might even worsen insulin resistance over time. And this is really important because metabolic health, which this is what I would consider metabolic health, it matters more than just forcing this autophagy through fasting. When your body's metabolism is functioning optimally, we actually do the process of autophagy naturally and really, really well. Okay, so when your metabolism is optimal, you get a steady energy supply. So your body is efficiently utilizing glucose and energy and fat for energy. So it prevents these stress spikes that are caused by fasting or low blood sugar. It's going to create supported, well-balanced hormones. So healthy metabolism supports balanced cortisol, insulin, and other hormones that are actually critical for this repair and growth process that you're trying to force through fasting autophagy. And you're actually going to get better autophagy. You're going to get enhanced autophagy. So when you have sufficient nutrients and a well-functioning system, your body naturally engages with autophagy without needing these extreme measures that are frankly not proven to do much, even in the body of research that we have. And a stressed body whether from chronic fasting or other sources, it creates an environment that can actually promote cancer development. And essentially because we can go through several interconnected factors here of cancer development, but one, increased cortisol and blood sugar fluctuations, that the fasting that triggers this cortisol release, which is a stress hormone, to maintain that blood sugar level when nutrients are scarce, creates chronically elevated cortisol levels, which can lead to more insulin resistance, more inflammation, both are which are highly linked to increased cancer risk. High blood sugar and insulin spikes, they actually create a favorable environment for cancer cells, which thrive on that glucose and energy. Second thing is fasting and this type of poor metabolic health, this type of stress on the body actually suppresses your immune system. So chronic stress can essentially suppress the immune system, making it harder for the body to identify and destroy cancerous or precancerous cells. So this immunosuppression allows those damaged cells to multiply unchecked. The third thing is that we actually get disrupted autophagy timing. So while autophagy is super protective, when we forced autophagy during stress, like prolonged fasting, can actually push the body into survival mode. So instead of effective repair, this kind of survival state, it impairs the removal of damaged cells. It can increase oxidative stress, and it potentially fuels that cancer growth. The fourth thing is that chronic stress is known to cause DNA damage. So the chronic stress and metabolic dysfunction that can be caused by fasting, but really just a life of stress in general, which fasting really promotes stress response and survival response in the body. It causes persistent inflammation and oxidative stress. So this damages your DNA. This creates mutations, which can then lead to cancer. You may have heard the term oxidative stress or free radicals in terms of what can actually damage your DNA and create those cancerous cells, those mutations that create cancer. So poor metabolic health as a base further exacerbates the process of impairing the body's ability to repair and detoxify. So in essence, chronic stress, so whether from fasting, poor metabolic health, lifestyle factors, whatever you want to put in this bucket, disrupts the body's balance. It leads to an environment where cancer is more likely to develop. So what we want to do instead is prioritize metabolic health. And there's so much more research on how chronic stress, all of these things that I just talked about, actually does cause cancer. Way more, and in humans, way more than the body of research that we have that's very specific to fasting in certain cancer situations. And most of the research that we have has been done on animals. And it's very hard to then take those studies and kind of make it a universal truth for all humans. Now, women in particular, I would say, are more sensitive to energy deficits or calorie restriction or fasting, whatever you want to call it, because of our hormonal fluctuations that are tied to our menstrual cycle. So prolonged fasting or forcing autophagy can really disrupt reproductive hormones, and that can lead to more irregular cycles, low progesterone, infertility, increased stress on the body, and really what we want to be doing is supporting our metabolic health to ensure regular cycles, balanced energy, better resilience, because our hormonal health really is the crux of our health as women. And these big, long energy deficits or these fasting, even if it's skipping breakfast or intermittent fasting where we're only eating in a certain window, it really does impact and cause a lot of stress on our bodies as women. Now, for men, hormonal patterns are more stable, I will say, but they're not immune to the downsides of these prolonged energy deficits. If you are a man and have poor metabolic health or a stressed body, you're still going to have these same issues. You're still promoting an environment that actually promotes cancer versus prevents it, which is what you're trying to do through fasting. So optimizing metabolic health for men is going to ensure muscle repair, stable testosterone levels, enhanced resilience to stress, which is what we want. And again, when we're supporting metabolic health, we're supporting the body's natural ability to do this autophagy process. You don't need to do these extreme measures. So again, your body is designed to engage in autophagy naturally with the right inputs. And I want to talk about what those are now. So number one, sunlight exposure, specifically UVA light. UVA rays, which happens in the morning. So when the sunrise comes up, UVA light is also like red light, but that is a certain light exposure that we're getting from the sun in the morning and around dusk. Okay. So those UVA rays, they actually stimulate autophagy in your skin cells. They remove damaged proteins caused by oxidative stress. They also do a lot of other things for circadian rhythm, hormone balancing, metabolic health as well, but it's essential for immune function. And that UVA, specifically UVA sunlight, is extremely important for our natural process for autophagy. And most of us are not out at sunrise or in the early morning or out at sun set or at dusk to expose ourselves to that red light, to that UVA ray. So that is a really important lifestyle tweak that we need to be making. And then also not exposing ourselves to blue light, which is equivalent to that midday noon sun, that blue light ray in the morning or in the evening when we shouldn't be, when our natural rhythms shouldn't be exposed to that type of light. So blue light from your phone, from your computer, from your TVs, etc. That's why that process is so important. So when we're supporting our bodies through sunlight and using sunlight to our advantage, we are actually stimulating autophagy naturally. We're cleansing the body, we're detoxing the body, we're repairing, we're doing cellular repair just through that process. And a citation there for that, you can go look at this if you want more details. It's the Journal of Investigative Dermatology study on sunlight and autophagy. There's a reference for you. Second thing, and this one is something nobody talks about, but retinol or vitamin A. And vitamin A in the retinol form, not vitamin A in the beta carotene form. It's not really vitamin A. The body actually has to do a lot with beta carotene in order to turn it into vitamin A. So we're looking for retinol sources of vitamin A. These things are foods like eggs, egg yolks, liver, beef liver, or other animal liver, but specifically beef liver, are excellent sources of retinol. Also things like cod liver oil, dairy, especially things like cheeses, really high in vitamin A. Grass-fed butters, another one. And retinol actually helps the body naturally regulate autophagy. It supports cell differentiation and repair. It's one of our best nutrient sources for autophagy, and most people I know are deficient in vitamin A because we have been sold a lie about dairy. We've been sold a lie about, some people are afraid of eggs. Some people aren't eating meat. I don't know many people that are eating liver at all. And cod liver oil and liver was a staple in our diets maybe even 50 years ago. It was a very traditional way of eating that we stopped doing. So you can maybe make that correlation, but vitamin A is really important for cell differentiation and repair. Third thing, exercise. Really basic, but exercise actually triggers very mild cellular stress. But this encourages your body to repair the damaged mitochondria and improve energy efficiency. So exercise is actually really important, and when we engage in it, we're consistently engaging in our natural autophagy processes. And then the fourth thing, again, super simple, but when we don't understand why this is so important, we can kind of let this go over our head, but sleep. Deep sleep specifically. Deep sleep is when autophagy naturally peaks. So you want to prioritize quality sleep because that's actually what's going to do the most for your cellular detox and repair without forcing your body into stress mode. a lot of us, and if people are tracking, if you have an Oura Ring or an Apple Watch or a fitness tracker where you can look at your sleep data, look at your deep sleep in particular. Are you getting an hour and a half or more of deep sleep? That's going to tell you that your body's naturally engaging in this autophagy process. You don't need to do anything extreme. So really important that we're getting that deep sleep. And if you're not entering deep sleep, then there can be multiple reasons for that, and you'll definitely want to explore them from a root cause perspective. But deep sleep is extremely important. So essentially, answering the question if fasting is the best way to achieve autophagy, the research just doesn't support that claim at all. What it does support instead is that if we focus on the way we were actually designed, the way we were created, our natural autophagy, our body's natural ability to cleanse and heal itself with sustainable methods like sunlight, exercise, sleep, balanced nutrition, we're using approaches that work with our body, support our metabolic health, which again, there is way more research out there that where you can actually see how poor metabolic health directly relates to cancer and the development of cancer. So when we use approaches that work with our body to support our metabolic health, not against it by extremely stressing the body, we're going to promote natural cleansing, autophagy, cancer prevention, but overall health and resilience. So really important. Again, fasting is not the end all be all. The research isn't supporting it. We're in a situation where people are universally applying these claims from research that's being done on animals. Your body's not a lab rat. And really the research being done on fasting and cancer, it's very specific cases. If you are planning on fasting, it should be for very specific cases. I'm not saying it's bad all the way around, or again, not universally bad, but most people are struggling with poor metabolic health. We are at a point in this country where about 93% of people are struggling with their metabolic health. And when we have poor metabolic health, fasting time and time again does more damage than good, does more harm than good. So unless you're in a very specific cancer-driven situation and you're working with a practitioner where that makes sense for you, most people are going to benefit way more from focusing on metabolic health, supporting their body's natural autophagy processes, instead of engaging in something that's going to wickedly stress out your body, especially for women. So again, I cited a bunch of resources in the show notes. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, hit like, subscribe for more kind of deeper dives into health and wellness topics, and let me know your thoughts in the comments.